Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, speculation about a trailer you've probably seen by now. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We are going to be talking about the news from the week, including Nintendo's recent acquisition of Next Level Games. And then on Thursday, we are casting the Lord of the Rings trilogy with Nintendo characters. But Mark, in the meantime, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I am really excited for Thursday. I'm not going to lie. Any opportunity to nerd out like that, just go full nerd, because I know listeners of the show, it might surprise you, but generally we're probably only going half nerd. And so the opportunity to go full nerd is like, I enjoy it.
Well, and sometimes the nerdery is like cut by something where it's like, well, that's nerdy, but it's also very popular, or like that's nerdy, but it's also musicals, so it's maybe like it's a different kind of, you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
This is just nerd cross nerd. This is nerd squared, baby. I'm very excited about it, and yeah, was I a little bit embarrassed when I started to say it out loud? Like, yes, of course, yes, I was. But it's gonna be a good episode, Mark. I'm very excited about it. How you been? Everything good in Mark's world right now?
Yeah, everything is going okay. I'm counting down the days to a number of things, but one of them, of course, being WandaVision releasing on Disney Plus. Are we going too nerdy, too much at the top?
Geez. I don't know. I don't think anyone tunes into a Nintendo podcast to hear two dudes talk about nerdy stuff, right? No, I'm very excited about WandaVision. 2 episodes dropping on Friday. I'm very, very excited about that. Here's something else that you might be excited about, I guess. My copy of Sonic Forces. Would you like to borrow it? You can, or you can try at any rate. You just got to email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com and give us a mailing address. Then I take my copy of this video game, put it in the mail, and send it to you. This is for the Nintendo Switch. You play it for as long as you want. You send it back. I pay for postage both ways. It is the perfect borrowing program with the following wrinkle.
You might get the goose.
You might get the goose. There's also a copy of Untitled Goose Game that is going out on loans. You do not get to request one over the other. You get what you get. The goose is traveling in a Sonic Forces box just for ultimate goosiness. So apologies, but also hashtag not sorry. That's how that phrase works, right?
That is how
apologies,
that phrase works.
Apologies, but hashtag not sorry. Whew, Mark, we've got another thing happening.
Yeah, that's right. It is soon going to be our 433rd episode.
Wow. 433 of these episodes. And Mark, that number holds a special meaning for us. Because on every other episode of this show, we do, of course, a segment called 433, where 4 minutes and 33 seconds or thereabouts, we talk about something that is not Nintendo related. And we'll do one of them later in this episode. And we've done many of them before. Anyway, we're going to do a whole episode of 433s, but we need your suggestions. Mark, what are we going to talk about?
We can talk about anything as long as it is not Nintendo related. Otherwise, we're not fulfilling the contract of the piece.
Right. And look, there are areas of our expertise that we have teased before, that we have hinted at. But I would rather be tested by you, the listener. You should email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com and give us suggestions for 433 segments for our 433 episode spectacular, because we need you to blindside us on this. Otherwise, look, we're just going to talk about Lord of the Rings and WandaVision, and we're going to do that anyway. So we need those suggestions by the end of the day on Tuesday, February 9th. Gets a little bit into the next Wednesday. That's okay. But just get them to us as soon as you can. We need topics from you. Mark, are there any topics you want people not to have us discuss?
I
We
think
didn't talk about this.
we didn't talk about this. I think the floor is open because here's the
Yeah.
great thing is that we'll be able to like sift through them once they arrive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, it's always going to be a family friendly show. All right, Mark, let's get into what we've been playing. Now, Mark, you sent me a text this weekend and said, reminder, there is a Tetris Maximus Cup happening right now. I think it's a new theme. And I was like, what? Reminder? I don't remember us talking about this. Did we talk about it?
No, we didn't talk about it. But because I think it was announced after we had recorded our episode. And then I was reading about it. I set a reminder on my phone to remind me on
Smart.
Saturday that it was happening. So when I got the reminder, I was like, let me pay it forward like Haley Joel Osment, but without the stabbing.
Right. And and Kevin Spacey too.
Yeah.
And Helen Hunt, all of them. So did you participate in the Kirby Fighters 2 Tetris Maximus Cup?
I did, yeah. I got the 100 points. Like always, when I jump into Tetris 99 for a Maximus Cup, I'm like really rusty at the beginning, and Clement's like, my husband's like sitting on the couch being like,
Right.
oh, like, like, oh. But then by the end, I finally like muscle it out. Did you play it? I really liked this theme. I thought the music was awesome.
Yeah, the music is. I did play this theme. It also took me a little while to get to the 100 points. It was one of these things where I had like 85 or like 90 points, and then my next game was a win. So you knock that. You just get 100 points from just winning a game. And I was already so close to just like knocking it down point by point. But then like really blew it away. But yeah, the theme, like it is visually, it's easy to recognize all the pieces. Sometimes I find that some of the themes make it kind of hard to recognize all the pieces, and all of the music is good, appropriately like exciting and Kirby-y. It doesn't make me want to check out Kirby Fighters 2.
Nope.
But it engenders good spirits for towards things Kirby.
Yeah, absolutely. I picked it up a few weeks ago, but I finally started Shiren the Wanderer for Switch. The subtitles, The Tower of Fortune and The Dice of Fate. It was originally a Vita game that was recently ported to Switch, and it has like that 16-bit RPG feel with like the music and everything. So I'm really digging it, but I'm also just doing the tutorials. There are a lot of systems in the game, and it's been a long time since I've played Shiren the Wanderer. The first and only one I've ever played was on the Nintendo DS. And so this game is, I guess, hard. Like I was Googling, it's a roguelike. So I was like Googling beforehand, like tips for beginners for Shiren the Wanderer. And most of the tips were like, do the tutorial. And so the tutorials are probably like 2 hours worth of them, but I'm slowly chipping away before I like make my first run at the dungeon. But I'm feeling like good. I'm leveling up a little bit. I'm getting some items. I'm feeling like confident in understanding the basics of the systems, which I think will do me good later.
Yeah, you're laying the groundwork.
Yes, exactly. And then I also downloaded the Monster Hunter Rise demo that was released last week. There was actually like a whole like Monster Hunter Rise like direct or presentation, which we're not going to talk about in news later because I've never played any of the Monster Hunter games, so it doesn't mean anything to me.
Same.
But the demo's out, and I haven't played it yet, but I think it's only good for a couple of weeks, so need to give it a shot soon.
Yeah, I am in the same boat, except I haven't downloaded it yet. It's just on my the mental list of demos I intend to download and play. I again, like Monster Hunter's not like you said, it's not really a franchise that I have been into in the past, but like I want to give this one at least the demo a try.
Totally.
Just because it's a big game coming to Switch and just to Switch, so might be worth our attention. I saw a lot of chatter right after the demo launch that the multiplayer part of it is framey and laggy and kind of a mess. So that bums me out a little bit, but especially because the Monster Hunter games are like sort of their pedigree is in like people gathering together with their Sony PSPs or their Vitas or whatever,
So
and like playing together.
so I saw something that I think we're talking about both of us have experienced this only through headlines that we've read. But I saw
So this
something
is quality content right here.
but I saw something that like it was maybe based on like the number of like friends you have on your like friends list on Switch for whatever reason, that like people who had more friends, it was laggier for than people who like had shorter friends lists. And so maybe it's
Interesting.
something that could be like fixed. Maybe there's still like a couple of months till the game comes out, so it'll be
I mean,
interesting
Mark,
to see.
if you're suggesting that all I need to do is purge my nearly full friends list in order to play Monster Hunter Rise, I know that I will never do that. I will always keep all.
friend is
if
a
you want to
friend.
friend us, our friend codes are in the description of every episode. We accept all friend requests. Although I believe the maximum is 200 friends, and I know I am approaching that. I assume that you are too, Mark.
Is that true? I feel like we also
don't know.
told ourselves that it was 99 friends, and that turned out to not be true.
Well, I mean, look, either we will find out when we hit the limit and don't get any more, or when we get like a backlog of friend requests that we can't fulfill. Let's explore the upper limits of this together. Friend us on Switch. Yes.
Ooh, I have one more thing that I wanted to talk about, even though I didn't play it, but it was part of GDQ that ended last week. It was brought to my attention by an article in Kotaku talking about just like, wow, like after like a really crappy day, this speed run like really helped me a lot. So I sought it out. It is a speed run of a game called, it's not even really a speed run, but it's a game called Mr. Bones, and it was run by a runner named Liz Star. And this game is like a Sega Saturn game, and it is about a skeleton who is brought back from the dead, and he's a blues guitar playing skeleton.
Wonderful.
And like the cutscenes are amazing. It's like it's about an hour long run, and I recommend everybody watch it. It is it's very soothing for the soul. It's just so funny. I can't believe that it's a game that exists. Mr. Bones.
That's so good. The only other like bit of oh shoot, was it just games done quick GDQ?
It was an AGDQ, like awesome games done quick.
Awesome games done quick. The only thing that I saw related to it was Imran Khan pointing out that this is the only AGDQ where Super Mario 35 is a game that can be played. Because the next time it rolls around, the game will be taken off the service.
I need to check out that run. I forgot it was happening. I did try to watch the Hades run, because I haven't played Hades, so I was like, what is this game all about? Obviously, speedrun, not a good representation of what this game is about.
No,
like,
definitely not.
I think if I had played the game, I would appreciate what was going on, but because I hadn't experienced it, like, it was all just, like, it didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I've seen, like, Hades speedruns that are, like, new save, so they're just, like, going and, beating one run without having any of the, like, previous like times or attempts, because like you're leveling up your character as you go, and you're like broadening those relationships and stuff, but like your first time through the game is very different, and they even have like separate pieces of dialogue for like when you reach Hades, if you reach him on your very first try, because he normally refers to like the number of times you've died trying to reach him, but if you reach him on the very first try, he's got like a different, the game is so good at that, of having like context sensitive different little dialogue options. But yeah, it seems like a total, for most of these things, it's a totally unnatural way to play the game.
Yeah, this was like a 3-weapon run, which I think they had completed the game, like I think they had maxed out, or had like they'd done a bunch, they had like completed a bunch, like it wasn't a first run, but still it didn't,
interesting,
it was just lots of fighting and really quickly, and so it wasn't, because I was not familiar with it, it didn't like really grab me.
Mark, I've also been playing Final Fantasy 3 / Final Fantasy 6 on the Super NES Classic Edition. Look, I just got it into my head. I was thinking about Final Fantasy. I was thinking about some of the characters, and I was like, you know what? I know that I started a not even really a playthrough, but like I turned that game on when I got the the Super NES Classic just to like remind myself of how beautiful and wonderful that game is, both visually and in terms of the music. Um, and I was like, you know what? I just want to go back to it. Maybe I was seeking out a normal nostalgic comfort this weekend, and I found it in Final Fantasy III. I have now played through the part where the characters get separated, and you have to play 3 separate scenarios in whatever order you want. And now everyone's heading back to Narsh. I just the game is so beautiful and so fun, and I'm just so happy to be playing it again.
That's awesome. You're playing it on the Super NES Classic.
Yeah, I don't really know where else it is available right now. Like there might be a mobile version of it or something like that. But with the original like 16-bit sprites, and I don't really know where else you can play it but on Super Nintendo or the Super NES Classic Edition. Because it's not on like the SNES Switch Online, and any of the it is not among the other Final Fantasy games that Square Enix has been re-releasing on all other platforms. Like they're kind of just like 7 and up at this point, which seems crazy to me. Like release 6, 5, 4, Chrono Trigger. Where are these games?
Yeah, I like especially like Chrono Trigger. Like that one is really surprising. But I mean, like yeah, like all the Final Fantasy games too. Do you know? It's funny that you brought playing that on the SNES Classic Edition up, only because I remembered for whatever reason in this last week that Super Mario RPG is on the Classic Edition as well, and like not really available on the Switch Online or anywhere else that's accessible to me. And it's like I haven't played that game for so long. That would be a fun one to dig into too.
And Earthbound is another one that is in that exact same boat. It is bizarre to me that there are so many good good Super Nintendo RPGs on the SNES Classic Edition that you just can't access anywhere else. Secret of Mana is on there as well. Though I guess the Seiken Densetsu collection is available on like everything now. So that one doesn't count. I throw out my own objection. All right, that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
So on January 14th, which is Thursday, a game that has been long requested is being released physically and on the Switch eShop. Although I think the physical edition might be from Limited Run Games, so I don't know like
I think you're right.
How available it's going to be, but it is Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game, the complete edition. This is a game that was originally published by Ubisoft back in 2007, maybe. Whenever
the PlayStation 3.
Yeah, whenever the Scott Pilgrim versus the World movie came out. It's a side-scroller beat 'em up that uses, kind of like pixelated graphics. I know it mostly from the soundtrack by Anamanaguchi, that I was actually listening to a little bit today while I was working. And
it's an incredible soundtrack. It is I think Anamanaguchi's best work. Like if you're gonna put on an Anamanaguchi record, put on the Scott Pilgrim versus the World soundtrack. It slaps. It's so good.
Yeah, it has like that 8-bit like NES sound mixed with like rock music. It's a lot of fun. Have you ever played this game? I've never played this game, so I don't know like really anything about it other than by reputation.
I am a big fan of this game. I really, really like it, and was one of the bigger bummers about switching from the PlayStation 3 to the PlayStation 4 is that there was no PlayStation 4 version of this game. There will be on Thursday. But it is a game that also then got like delisted from the PlayStation 3 store. So like it was just gone for a long time. And so I'm excited to have it back. It seems as though there is a non-local multiplayer, which is awesome. Online multiplayer. The original game only supported couch co-op. But if like I can play this game with you or with anyone else, I will be very, very happy. It's great. It's like a River City game. I can't remember the name of the Japanese name for that series. What is it? Like River City Ransom?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it either.
Yeah, we're not gonna remember it. But it's just a super fun game like that. And has awesome pixel art. and a good like leveling up system, and the levels are all very like trippy and cool. And like you just start to run into this like recursive surreal thing of like Scott Pilgrim is a comic book about like video games, and then that became a movie, and then all of that became another video game. So like it's so up its own butt in like a lovely it's just an awesome homage to itself in a lot of ways. But yeah, it's super fun and super good.
Also, I looked it up. I think it's Kunio-kun. Does that sound right?
Kunio-kun is correct. Very good, Mark.
But yeah, that's pretty much it from the eShop. Nothing else on here that really like jumps out to me.
You didn't want to call out Mahjong Adventure coming out on Tuesday?
Or Writhe that's coming out on Friday.
Ooh, no thank you. Or Solar Blast also coming out on Friday. All right, those are the new releases. Let's close this out. Now it is time for a regular segment on this show. It is time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers did not play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, today's topic is maybe a little bit about Nintendo. Would you care to introduce it?
Yeah, so today, Lucasfilm, the company behind like Star Wars and Indiana Jones, announced that I'm actually kind of a little bit confused exactly what they announced, but they announced that they're bringing back the Lucasfilm Games brand. And that,
so can I just read the like first two paragraphs of Luke Plunkett's article from Kotaku?
Yeah, please.
It reads, LucasArts is dead, but for some reason, the powers behind the brands have decided that the company's previous name, Lucasfilm Games, is something that needs to be resurrected. And so now will be on the box and at the end of trailers for every Star Wars game going forward. The announcement of the brand's return means it is now official. This is in quotes. Now the official identity for all gaming titles from Lucasfilm, a name that encompasses the company's rich catalog of video games and its eye towards the future, unquote.
I just don't know what it means. I mean, I guess if we get a Willow video game in the future, it'll be branded Lucasfilm. I guess what's happening is Lucasfilm is somehow acting as like or Lucasfilm Games is like somehow acting as like the producer for these, and so now they're all going to be branded that. Because I guess I have no idea what you played Fallen Order, right? Or whatever that the Jedi game was that came out last year.
Yeah, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, did it have some sort of like branding? Was it like Disney Interactive? Was it like Star Wars? Like, did it have anything like that? I guess.
I mean, I think it was just like EA, Respawn Entertainment. I don't know that it said like Lucasfilm or Disney anywhere. I mean, I'm sure it said it on there somewhere, but it wasn't like a title card, basically.
Well, I guess then maybe that's it. Maybe it's they're trying to like, because right now like Star Wars games are so associated with like EA that I wonder if this is a way to try to like brand it in people's minds with like the entity that actually owns it.
Well, and it's also, or like the entity that is like licensing the IP out, right? Because like they Lucasfilm Games released like a sort of sizzle reel trailer that showed a lot of these Star Wars games that are currently out and that people are currently playing, and sort of pointedly not all of them are developed by EA, right? Like there's the Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga, that's whoever made that. I don't have to say that.
Telltale, right? WB Games,
or TT Games.
Yeah, isn't that Tell? Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
They're separate.
You're right.
But I understand the confusion. Don't think I don't understand the confusion. Yeah, so I think it is sort of a way of uniting the various like game brands that come out under the Star Wars name, but also like LucasArts has a pedigree beyond like just Star Wars games. Do you think it means that we get like a new Monkey Island game or like?
Well, so that's it's funny that the timing of this is interesting only because I think like last week or 2 weeks ago, Retronauts, the podcast Retronauts, did an episode on Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, and they were talking about that the Fate of Atlantis was coming out like right around the transition from because Lucasfilms Games, and then it became LucasArts. And
Yeah.
apparently, allegedly, based on what they were saying on Retronauts, is that like when it was LucasArts or Lucasfilms Games, that's when like they were making Maniac Mansion, and like apparently that was like the best time to work for the company. And then it became LucasArts. It evolved into like something else. So I think they're being very particular. I think there's like a reason they went back to the Lucasfilms Games branding versus like LucasArts.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's interesting and sort of, calling back to the Disney Investor Day spectacular thing from a couple weeks ago, where like coming out of Lucasfilm, that there is more than just Star Wars stuff coming out. Like, I wonder if Disney is just getting to the point where they're like, okay, there is other IP here to tap into, like Indiana Jones, like Willow, but also the on the game side that there are all these other ideas and properties and stuff like that to explore that they can do now that like Star Wars is Star Wars is in a little bit of a weird space, but I think we understand it now.
Maniac Mansion VR, right? That's what we all want.
Yep, we all want Maniac Mansion VR. I would never play that. Would you play that? We were accompanied today by pianist Kyle Shaw. Mark, let's get into the news.
And I think we did that whole Lucasfilm Games discussion without once mentioning Nintendo.
Or a Nintendo game. Ooh, I did mention the Lego Skywalker Saga.
It's multi-platform. I let it pass.
You're right. You're right.
So let's get this out of the way. This morning, like Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. Pacific time, Nintendo debuted a new trailer for Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, which is coming to Switch next month. Since we're recording this on Monday night, we have no idea what it included.
No idea.
But it'd be cool if it included, apparently it's like a 2-minute trailer. It'd be cool if it talks more about Bowser's Fury and what that is. I don't know how much time we want to spend on speculating on what this trailer that most people will have already seen by the time that they listen to this might entail.
So it's not speculation so much as just an observation that I realized when they announced this trailer is that they are just calling this Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, which leads me to believe that the like base game is not going to have a lot of extra bells and whistles.
Yeah, that's a good point. It doesn't have the deluxe branding that we saw with like new Super Mario Brothers Wii U or new Super Mario Brothers U or like Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze or anything like that.
Yeah, which did that have a deluxe branding on it? I don't remember.
Let's not fact check that. I'll check.
But Pikmin 3 is definitely Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Mario Kart 8 is definitely Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. There's precedent for this. We're not insane. But yeah, so it's I absolutely adore Super Mario 3D World. And I relish the opportunity or the excuse to play it again. And absolutely will, regardless of what other features are added to it. But I am now tempering my expectations, and I expect that the base game will be relatively untouched, with the exception that I think there is online multiplayer, right?
I think that is the case. Yeah, and you were correct that Tropical Freeze did not have the deluxe branding on Switch. So I wonder, do you think?
Yes.
I mean, again, we might already know this, but since we're here right now, I want to talk about it. Do you think that Bowser's Fury is going to be the same gameplay, or do you think it's going to be like what we saw with like Bowser's Minions when they did the remakes of the Mario and
Luigi
games? Like, will it be like a different type of game?
I mean, it can be a different type of game if that's like I'm not going to immediately poo-poo that, even though I guess I'm giving away that I do think that's a little bit of a bummer, just because I find the gameplay of Super Mario 3D World to be just about exactly what I want out of a video game. But the Bowser's Minions and whatever the other one was called are both they definitely are different gameplay from the Mario and Luigi games, but they're not so different. Like, it's going from an RPG, a turn-based RPG, to like a little bit more of a tactical, like picking your party, but not actually like fighting with them once you're in the. So like it's like a lateral move. It's a little bit different, but the genre is still sort of the same. If they do something like that here, where it's like a bunch of 2D Mario levels or something like that, like I that it's still like platforming and exploring and stuff, like I'd be on board for that. But like I don't know, I'm super excited for whatever this is. And like I said, I'll play this game no matter what. Where's your excitement level on it?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Like I've only played 3D World at your house, a little bit, and so to be able to like really dig into it, I'm very excited for. And I'm very jealous of listeners who are living in the future and already know the answers to
I
all
know.
these questions. Maybe, or maybe it's just a 2-minute long tease and there are no answers. It
Well,
is
can we talk?
Bowser's Fury
Can
is
we?
unknowable.
Can we talk about this? Why didn't they just drop this trailer?
I don't know. I will admit, like I think it's a mercy of them, given that we record these shows
True.
on Monday night, that they gave us a heads up, because normally like this news, like this next news item we're going to talk about, just like happens late Monday night or early Tuesday morning after we've recorded. So the fact that they like gave a heads up like hours before that it was coming Tuesday morning, like was such a sweet blessing.
See, I get that for like a direct or a presentation of any kind, but this is a 2-minute trailer. They're giving
I
us
don't know.
14 hours of heads up at the end of the day after
Clear your
like,
schedule.
after East Coast outlets have already like closed for business like it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, maybe some at the end of the 2-minute trailer, there's like something else that they want
Yeah.
us to know about. But
A
again,
full Nintendo Direct.
yeah, exactly. Um, okay, so moving on to actual news that we can talk about, and we don't have to speculate as much, but of course we will always speculate. Nintendo has
we will.
announced they're acquiring Vancouver, Canada-based Next Level Games, which you might know as the developers of Luigi's Mansion 3, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, Metroid Prime Federation Force, the Super Mario Striker games, and like Punch Out for Wii, which I think is makes a ton of sense and is a really good get.
Yeah. It is one of those things that I didn't realize wasn't already true. You know what I mean? Like I think I assume that Nintendo's frequent development partners are owned by them. Like do they own Intelligent Systems? Do
No,
we
I
know that?
don't think they do.
Well, so but like you only see Intelligent System games on Nintendo platforms. Just like HAL Laboratories, they recently had the um part-time UFO game that was on mobile. But other than that, all of their games just go straight to Nintendo platforms. So like it's interesting that like they saw that something needed to change to m- sort of ensure their partnership in like a more like formal kind of way.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I know that like well I so one thing that came out around this was that it was saying that like the board of directors for Next Level Games were like ready to sell, and so I wonder if like at that point Nintendo was like, well, we want to under if you were bought by somebody else, maybe you wouldn't be a second party for us, maybe you would
Sure.
go back to developing like for different platforms or however it would work, but like obviously they are close and comfortable partners. So maybe that was the opportunity to be like, well, let's just acquire you to make sure that we can continue this relationship.
Is it look, this is the question that obviously we're all thinking. Is this because when Nintendo is going to try to release the Metroid Prime collection, including all 6 Metroid Prime games, that they still needed to have access to the developers of Metroid Prime Federation Force?
I do. I think you need the Federation Force Wizards if you're going to try to do the Metroid Prime collection.
Yeah, you need it. I mean, and look, Retro developed all 5 of the other ones, right? It's just this one that Retro didn't develop.
I actually don't. I have no idea who developed Pinball or the Hunters.
I'll look it up.
Well, while you're doing that, I will update us on a news piece from last week where we discussed how DSiWare titles on the US Nintendo 3DS eShop were deactivated.
Mm-hmm.
In the past few days, most, but not all of those DSiWare titles that were deactivated are once again available for purchase on the 3DS. Of course, we still have like no idea why they were deactivated in the first place, why they were reactivated, or if we can expect like the remaining deactivated titles to be restored someday, or if, like they're lost forever. Nintendo's giving us nothing. They are saying nothing.
That's weird. That must have just been like an accident, right?
Yeah, maybe they're like switching servers or something, and it
Someone at
temporarily.
Nintendo HQ was just flipping switches. There, there was one that had green tape on it that just handwritten said DSiWare on it.
Yeah.
They flipped it
Although I
down.
guess I guess that gives us an opportunity if we wanted to do an episode in the future on some of these DSiWare titles. Now we have no excuse again.
Ah, dang it. um, so it turns out I'm wrong. The other Metroid Prime games are not developed by so Metroid Prime 2 and 3, 1, 2, and 3 are all developed by Retro. But Metroid Prime Hunters is developed by Nintendo Software Technology, which is the Redmond-based Nintendo first-party studio,
Project
and
Hammer
then
developers.
yeah, yeah, there you go. And then the Metroid Prime Pinball is developed by Silverball Studios. So, which makes sense because that sounds like the name of a pinball developer, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. But I still think your point stands that you still need next
Yeah.
level games in the fold in order to make that happen.
I mean, and also like we moved off it for the purposes of that joke and figuring out who developed the rest of those games. But like, it's an impressive lineup of games that Next Level has worked on, right? Like they Luigi's Mansion 3 was a great title to come out at the end of 2019, and is just like this is a developer that knows how to get a lot out of Nintendo hardware and look as pretty as like anything else on competing platforms.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I was looking it up. Like they had worked on Nintendo projects like this Super Mario Strikers games and Punch Out Wii, like before, like earlier in the early aughts. And in between that, they were also releasing like licensed games or other games on multi platforms. But Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, which released in 2013, since then they've exclusively made Nintendo titles. And so, they've, even if you're counting just when the game was released, it's been 7 years since they've released anything on a platform that isn't Nintendo. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, like at that point, like you're close to a decade working together. And clearly, like the fruits of that relationship are really strong. So it makes sense to just keep that going.
And not for nothing, but these guys develop a lot of games that are like a return to franchises that have been dark for a while. Like you mentioned Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. It had been like a decade since the previous Luigi's Mansion. Metroid Prime Federation Force, well, maligned, was a new Metroid Prime game well after the last mainline Metroid Prime. Punch Out on the Wii, that's like 10 years after Super Punch Out. So like if you're carrying water for any old forgotten Nintendo franchises, F-Zero, like that's these may be the guys to do it. So it's exciting that they're a mainstay in the Nintendo stable.
Yeah, and I have no idea how big they are now, but maybe we'll see like Retro
Mm.
where they just grow bigger once they're acquired, working on
Yep.
more projects. Nintendo's partner in mainland China, Tencent, announced that the Switch has shipped 1 million units in China since its launch in December 2019. According to consultant firm Nico Partners, that is bigger than Sony and Xbox's combined sales over the same period.
Interesting.
Uh,
What do you think accounts for that?
Uh, well, so according to the Reuters article, they were saying that like Ring Fit Adventure's popularity during the pandemic like really helped spur sales. That before that, it was kind of the Switch's rollout was kind of hampered by the limited number of games. Like when the Switch was released in China, there were only I think like 2 games that were officially licensed by the Chinese government for sale, but Ring Fit Adventure, just like it has everywhere else, has just like exploded in popularity, and I think that's really helped it along. One thing that's not clear to me is like is when they talk about like combined Xbox and PlayStation sales is if that's only like official sales, like through official channels, or if
Oh,
it's like
interesting.
counting like gray market sales. But either way, it's interesting to see like the success that they've had, especially with like Ring Fit Adventure.
Man, Ring Fit Adventure, it still feels like an unlikely success story to me.
Totally. I mean,
I mean, maybe we should just never count out the, Nintendo fitness peripheral that we initially scoff at. Like
seriously,
that balance board was a huge hit for them on the Wii with Wii Fit, and that the Ring Con is such a simple like but clunky piece of technology that just like works. I don't know. It's very strange.
I think it's totally like it's absolutely word of mouth, right? I mean, you and I both
Hmm.
picked it up. I feel like after we picked it up way after release, because when the initial release video came out for Ring Fit Adventure, like that thing was weird, and I think did a really poor job of selling the game. But like the people in it were unnerving. Like it was very strange.
Oh yes, I remember this intense staring right at the camera and telling us about things
Yeah.
very cheerily.
But yeah, I think it's just been like strong word of mouth for sure. If you visited the Switch eShop over the past few years, you probably noticed that at times the best selling charts would feature games being sold for like ridiculously low prices, like 1 cent. Um, because of that, because the best selling charts update on a rolling 2 week basis, developers, what they would do is they would use the bargain basement price to get their game to shoot up the best selling charts. And then when the like sale was over with, the game would go back to being full price. And I think the like business, what they were hoping and what would happen is that people would be like, oh, here's this game that I haven't heard of, but it's like the number 2 bestseller. So maybe I should just like check it out. It's only $10 or whatever. Like, I don't know if
Yeah.
you remember seeing like Space Bears on there, those types of games like all the time.
Yeah, you see those kinds of games up there from time to time for sure.
So, according to reports from Game Discover Co. and then also a report from developers on Reddit, Nintendo of America has been making adjustments to the eShop rules over the past couple of months to prevent that sort of thing from happening. So, at
Mm.
some point, what they did is they limited games that cost 1 cent from showing up on the best selling charts. Like, if your game was priced at 1 cent, you were
2 cents.
excluded. Yes. And then more recently, in the past few weeks, it sounds like what they did is they changed the rules in the eShop so games can no longer be priced lower than $1.99, excluding like free to play titles, like Rocket League or something
Oh,
like that.
interesting. Yeah, and I guess that sort of makes sense. Yeah, I mean that's just a weird little feature. I wonder how they land on $2. Like, why is that an acceptable threshold? But 1 penny isn't.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think the Apple App Store, if you're selling something, like, well, no, that can't be true either. I have no idea. I have no idea.
I mean, I guess I sort of get where like Nintendo doesn't want to process your credit card for a penny. They're losing money on that deal for sure. So I guess I can understand that.
Yeah, I guess processing credit cards for like a charge of a penny is like in old cartoons when they would be cutting like a single bean into multiple pieces. That's like the
Ex- Except there's like a base price for processing any credit card. So like if it's like 2 cents, Nintendo's losing money every time they sell a copy of that 1 cent game.
Also eShop related. Nintendo has removed the My Nintendo Wii U and 3DS software discounts that you used to be able to get in exchange for platinum coins. So no longer can you exchange My Nintendo Platinum coins for software discounts on Wii U or 3DS software, but you still can get the Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess Picross, Flip Note Studio 3D, and some themes for your 3DS using platinum coins. Of course, who knows how long that'll last, but
Yeah. And I really can't express this enough. The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess Picross is great. Go and pick it up if you have a 3DS. Because you definitely have platinum points. And I forget how many it is, but it is not
it's
an
a
exorbitant amount.
1,000. It's 1,000.
So you can farm that by just like playing some mini games on Nintendo game websites and collecting that pretty quick.
Yeah, it's just interesting to like uh, slowly just see all these like vestiges of the Wii U and like 3DS era just kind of be like stripped away.
Yeah, it's time,
Bloom
man. It's time. We're moving on.
Bloomberg recently published an oral history of the original Xbox. I don't know if did you have an opportunity to read this, Patrick? It was really entertaining.
I read parts of it.
In the feature, it was revealed that Microsoft pitched Nintendo on an acquisition at some point. The pitch basically was like, "Hey, Nintendo, you're really great at software, but your hardware is terrible. So let us acquire you, and you can make games, and you'll show up on Xbox." Um, Kevin Backus, the former director of third-party relations at Microsoft, says in the article, "Quote: Steve Ballmer, former Microsoft CEO, made us go meet with Nintendo to see if they would consider being acquired. They just laughed their asses off. Like, imagine an hour of somebody just laughing at you. That was kind of how that meeting went."
Wow, rough.
And this had to have been like in the late 90s or like the late 90s. So this was in the uh Nintendo
Like,
64 era.
well, wait. So before Xbox was a thing?
Yeah, because they were doing it in the run up to like when they were like
Oh,
looking at like
okay.
when Microsoft was like looking at acquiring different like companies to help bolster like the Xbox library.
That's funny. And also like sort of strange because that's not when like Nintendo was striking from a place of like technological superiority, like maybe market superiority, but like losing that ground pretty quick to the original PlayStation, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's like I wonder if they'd approached them 3 years later, like it like during the GameCube and while like being trounced by the PlayStation 2, if like that would have changed anything, um, or what? It does seem like there would have been like an ideal time to like try to buy Nintendo, where they may have been receptive to it, or maybe not. Maybe they're just proud and they know that they're fine.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that like Nintendo would have ever like even at its lowest point have been willing to be acquired by like Microsoft.
Yeah, that is so. I mean, obviously, we are Nintendo fans. We like the things that Nintendo does. Usually, not all the time, I guess. But like, can you imagine that like alternate history where um like Nintendo is making HD games much earlier, where they have like um you know great online support for like all of their games. Um, like can you if like right now we were playing Nintendo Game Pass and like the new Zelda game, the new Breath of the Wild game was just going to be free because you already paid for like a subscription, like that would have been kind of cool.
Well, it's interesting to think about because um like whether it is true or not, I kind of think of, Nintendo as this like precious, like almost
Yeah.
like flower that you need to like protect in order for it to be in order to do its thing. Like it kind of needs to just be left alone and,
Yeah.
like will work out its problems. Like historically they've been able to do that. And like I it's just difficult to imagine like a huge company like Microsoft who we have seen acquire a lot of studios and then close those studios, like go through so many like could you imagine I'm forgetting the name of the guy who was leading Xbox around the time of the Xbox One, that he was the one that like Shigeru Miyamoto was answering to. Like it just doesn't make sense. Like Nintendo, it's hard to imagine that Nintendo would be Nintendo and that they'd be able to keep like what made them special if they were operating under some like giant corporation.
Yeah, and I think like Nintendo's failures also like end up informing what they are later anyway. So like um I mean you're right in that like it's something that needs to be protected, but also just something that needs to like you just need to let Nintendo run its course, and there will be, long dark periods where you don't get new games from them. There'll be periods where they put out games that don't seem to make sense. And there'll be like a Labo, which is neat, but you're like, what is this? And then Ring Fit Adventure comes out and you're like, what is this going to be? And then it comes out and it's awesome. Like there's sort of no predicting them, and there's sort of no charting them. They just need to do what they do, and then we can experience what of it is good, and ignore what of it isn't good.
That's right. Like the Nintendo GameCube might have been a sales disappointment, but don't forget what they told us in the Switch reveal back in January of 2017, that the handle on the
I will never forget
GameCube
this.
is what informed the portability of the Switch. Let us never forget.
Well, and I mean, come on, the GameCube gave us Super Mario Sunshine, sure. Zelda, Wind Waker, Resident Evil 4. Like, there's not a better game lineup than those three games right there.
Finally, a reminder that this weekend is Splatoon 2's special global Splatfest to celebrate Super Mario Bros. 35th anniversary. The matchup is Super Mushroom versus Superstar, and the Splatfest runs Friday, January 15th from 2 p.m. Pacific time through Sunday, January 17th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And it's just another opportunity to jump into Splatoon 2 for an original Splatfest, which we haven't had for a long while now.
So it is another original Splatfest, but it is a global Splatfest, which means there are some serious players from around the world who will be playing the game. It's like a normal Splatfest, like a North American Splatfest, brings a lot of people back to the game, and it's not always like the best. Like I usually find them easier to play in than just like vanilla Splatoon 2. But a global Splatfest, I'll admit, I'm a little worried about.
Well, if you think you can hack it, this Splatfest actually has the chance of a physical reward, which I think is a first. So if you go to mario.nintendo.com/challenge, and then you sign up for the Splatoon 2 Splatfest, like My Nintendo mission, if you're in the top 35 players on each Splatfest team, you could win a Super Mario Bros. 35th anniversary coin. So if you're feeling really chuffed about your Splatoon 2 abilities, this might be your opportunity.
Top 35?
I know. It's an impossible dream for me. Like,
so
I'm not even going to
good.
bother. Yeah. I think when this was originally announced, or at least when the date was originally announced, you and I both settled on whether we were Team Super Mushroom or Team Superstar, but I can't remember what we said, so I feel like we should just do it over.
All right, yeah, let's do it over, because I don't remember. Right now, I was looking at the options, and I was like, oh, I obviously said, and then I couldn't finish the sentence.
I think I said Superstar previously.
I think I said Superstar previously, and I thought we were on opposite sides.
Well, okay. Well, now I've decided on Super Mushroom is, I think, where I stand at this moment, subject to change.
So the Super Mushroom is certainly a more iconic, certainly a more recognizably Mario thing than the Superstar, but only by like a little bit, right? I think it is possible that we were discussing what the actual physical, what it would be like to have the power of the Super Mushroom or the Superstar. And I said, go with the Superstar because you could be invincible. That's, it doesn't change your physiology in any way. You just won't die. Whereas if you get the Super Mushroom, like, do you want to be 12 feet tall? Is that what you want?
Yeah, that's a fair point. I hadn't really thought about the ramifications. I wouldn't be able to ride roller coasters anymore.
I guess that's true. Is there a you must be at least this tall, but no taller than this?
I mean,
or
I
do you
think it's just
they would just make that call at the gate.
I think it's just impractical at that point.
Yeah. Well, all right. Don't become 12 feet tall, Mark. Let's get out of the news. That reminds me, Mark, of course, of the episode of Made Up Murder that we recorded, Ryan Mogi's podcast, where you played someone who just pretended they were huge by wearing lots of clothes or tiny clothes. I don't remember what it was.
I think it's just by lots of clothes. It's just, I guess it's just my like subconscious ultimate desire to be huge.
Check out season 3 of Made Up Murder. It was super fun. That's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts if you like this episode. You can share it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you share stuff. That helps us a lot when you do it. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ehlers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at NinCart Society. We also have a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by Apipetty. You can get more of his music by going to apipetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers offering to buy Nintendo for 1 penny and saying thank you for listening.
My name is Will Himes, and I am a ghostwriter, meaning I write other people's books for them. And I have a podcast called I Will Write Your Book, which are recordings of my meetings with my eccentric clients, such as a woman blocked after one sentence of a children's book about her dogs, a romance novelist who dislikes sex, and a man proud of having sampled everything in his local grocery store. This podcast has been described as fully improvised, played by some of the best comedians on the planet Earth. Hey, that's pretty good. That's I Will Write Your Book on Campfire Media.
Campfire.